Hare Krishna. My name is Hari Sauri Das. I'm the director of the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. This is a project that we started about 4 years ago in Calcutta. What it's meant to be is a complete resource of Vaisnava literature, particularly on the Gaudiya Vaisnava tradition. We also have from the other Sampradayas, Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Madhva Sampradaya, and we also have the Vedas, the Puranas, the Upanishads, etc. But our main concentration, as I say, is on the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. What we have at the core of our library is the original library of Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. It's comprised of about 2,500 items. There are many rare and valuable documents and books, some of which I'll try to give a little description of. The library itself was originally in the Bagbazar Gaudiya Mat, which was the first big temple that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati established outside of Mayapur. The custodian of that library was Sundarananda Vijayavinod. He was a Sanskrit professor who joined Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in the 1920s, and he was the editor of the weekly periodical that the Gaudiya Mat were publishing called the Gaudiya. So he accumulated all the books that were published by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, plus all the periodicals that were published by the Gaudiya Mat over about 15 or 20 years. I'll just put this down. So that collection of books and periodicals was kept at his home for about 60 years. Then in 2009, via the agency of His Holiness Bodhayan Swami, the Acharya of the Gopinath Gaudiya Mat, that collection came to the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. It took us a couple of years to clean it all up. After 60 years, you can understand there was a lot of neglect, a lot of bugs, and also the works had deteriorated quite a bit just by age. So we had a big task in cleaning it all up, creating a good catalogue, and then also preserving all the material. So in our library now, we have about 15,000 books. There's the core library of Sundarananda Vijayavinod's collection. Then on top of that we have another collection of about 11,000 books, which is owned by our head librarian, Achyuta Das. We're presently cataloguing all of that, and as the catalogue grows, we're putting that online. You can see what we have on our website, www.brcindia.com. BRC, of course, stands for the Bhaktivedanta Research Center. So in our library, we discovered some original handwritten works by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. One example of that was an 8-page handwritten horoscope, a calculation of the astrological chart of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's youngest son, Lalit Prasad Thakur. We also have from Bhaktivinoda Thakur some original articles that he had written for a newspaper in Jagannath Puri in 1871. Those were printed in the newspapers and then clipped out and stuck in the back of a book. So there's some original articles and poems, including the famous poem about Srila Haridas Thakur. He reasons ill that tell the Vaishnavas die. They in living tried to spread the holy name around. So that verse is there, probably in its very first appearance in the newspapers in Puri. We also have from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we discovered some letters that were written by him and some draft articles that were written by him for the Gaudiya periodical. And apart from that, we have almost a complete collection of all the Goswami's books, all the works by Baladev Vidyabhusan, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, etc. So in this way, what we're creating is a resource that any scholar or any student, they can come. We have a small guest house in the same building. They can stay there. We've had several PhD candidates that have come and spent 5 or 6 weeks with us at a time doing their research and utilizing all the different works in the library. Our plan, of course, is to keep on expanding. We're not just about old works, but we're also collecting all new works as they come out by the present acharyas. So, as they say, big things come from small beginnings. We have a small library at the moment, but we're expanding as much as we can, and we expect that in a few years we'll have a full resource which any person who's studying Gaudiya Vaishnavism can take advantage of. Everything is also being scanned, so that will be put online. Every month we update our website, and what we're trying to do is fulfill the desire of Srila Prabhupada. I was with him in 1976 in Bombay. This was on August the 15th, and he had called into his room Giriraj Maharaj, who was the temple president in Juhu Beach at that time, plus his former personal servant Nitai Das. And Prabhupada told them that what he wanted to establish in Juhu was a full library of all the works of the acharyas. So that meant our Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, Vishnu Swami, etc., Nimbaka Acharya. He said that the library should have all of his own works in there, and all the Vedas, the original Veda, the Puranas, the Upanishads, etc. But he said, be careful not to put any works of any unauthorized commentators who were not connected to a proper parampara system. He even said that we could have the works of Shankaracharya, which surprised me when I heard that. I asked him, doesn't Lord Chaitanya say that a person who reads the works of Shankar, he'll be spoiled? And Srila Prabhupada replied, he said, not if he reads with the correct understanding. He said we can have those works so that we can understand their arguments so that we can defeat them. So in that way, Prabhupada had a vision of a complete Vaishnava library where he said anybody can come and study Vaishnavism in depth and become a full committed devotee. So that somehow or another was not accomplished in Bombay, but when we started the Bhaktivedanta Research Center in Calcutta in 2009, that was one of the instructions that was in my mind that we could try to fulfill for Srila Prabhupada. So we're very happy with the progress at the moment. There's been a lot of interest. We're building up our library quite extensively, and we're appealing to all the devotees to help us with this project. Actually in 1972, Srila Prabhupada had sent Yadubara Prabhu to Biyanagar, which was the birthplace of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and he gave him instructions that he should photograph all the manuscripts that were lying there. There's many original works by Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and they were not in a good state of condition. They were not being looked after properly. Prabhupada said that Yadubara should photograph them all. It doesn't matter what language they're in, but he said keep them very carefully. He said it is a treasure trove of Vaishnava law, and it will benefit generations of Vaishnavas to come. Just simply by coming there and seeing the actual handwriting of these great souls will purify anyone. So we're working towards that goal of preservation and presentation. If we don't protect our Vaishnava heritage, then of course everything is reduced to sentiment. We must preserve these works, and not only preserve them but propagate them very widely. So we estimate maybe 50% of all the works of Bhaktivedanta Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati have not yet been translated into English. So that's a further goal of the BRC, that we want to start a publications department translation and then publication, and then all these valuable works will be distributed all around the world. Our first project in that direction is the personal diary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We discovered it's a copy of his personal diary. It runs from 1904 to 1936. None of us even knew that it existed, but Sundarananda Vijay had kept a copy of it in his collection. So we've now translated that. We're in the process of editing it and annotating it, and that will be published before the end of this year, 2013. Another item that we found was an original print of Saraswati Jayashree, which was the official biography of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That was originally published in one volume in 1934. There was supposed to be at least 3 more volumes after that, but they were never ever published. So what we found in our collection was a draft print of what was going to be the 2nd volume, but it was never published. So there's some amazing works in there, and all of the Vaishnavas will be delighted to see those published and made available. So that's a brief overview of our Bhaktivedanta Research Center. We're in South Central Calcutta. It's only 15 minutes from the ISKCON temple at Albert Road. And anybody that's coming through to Mayapur, you're invited to please come, spend a day in Calcutta. We have a nice guest house. You can inspect the library, and just being in a place where so many wonderful transcendental literatures are available, it's like being in Vaikuntha. So please come and visit, and if you can, go onto our website, again, brcindia.com. We have a membership scheme. Everything that we're doing is entirely funded by donations. We don't have any other method of raising the funds except through our membership scheme. You can become an annual member or a patron member, or you can sponsor 1 month a year, or we have a Nitya Sevak program. We have many devotees, they give $1 a day or $2 a day by automatic transfer to our account. So in this way things are running on, and we're hoping that we can expand it. And for the future, we see this library as being a core library for the future Mayapur University. This year at the GBC meeting, Mayapur GBC meetings here in Mayapur, we made an application to get 10 acres of land so that we can begin the development of the Mayapur University. Prabhupada in 1975 had instructed Rabindra Swarup Prabhu to look into the possibility of setting up a university here in Mayapur. So this is not a new concept. Again, everything comes from Srila Prabhupada. He had the original ideas. Now we believe that we're at a point where we can actually begin developing such a university. So the first step is to get the land. And this library will be the core of the development of that university. So thank you very much. Please come and visit whenever you're going through Calcutta. Hare Krishna.